right, all you groovy, tuned in, turned on, way out fans, here's a sample of your kind of music, Strange Brew.
Let's go. Last part. Look at that view. Shh. Be quiet. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Okay. Time to try to beat the clock, beat the temperature again. It's nice and cool in here. We started 10 minutes early because the closer you get to 4 o'clock, the more humidity and heat starts shooting up out of the soil because we got a giant artificial lake that's always super cold. And so when the sun goes down, it's just... I don't know why these people do this. They should understand physics, shouldn't they? Didn't supposedly scientists build this country and they don't even understand? See, you know what's interesting is at the bottom of this lake is a bunch of Native American artifacts. Almost like there's Native Americans that live there, wouldn't leave, so they said, well, we'll just dam this up right here and let it fill with water until you leave. And what does it result in? Putrid, disgusting, dead lake infested with all kinds of things. Raising the water table where it shouldn't be so that all your septic system is just floating right in a layer right there. And it just stinks. And then the humidity comes out of the dirt with its stink and it breeds seed ticks. It breeds deer ticks. It breeds every single vile, creeping, disgusting, venomous thing that you can think of. Boy, what a fitting judgment, but why do I have to live here? I respect the Native Americans, man. I'm part Native American somewhere back there. Jeez. Anyway. Here we go. Let's read where we left off here. Page 127. Remember, this is a critique of Mein Kampf. Hitler is a benevolent psychopath. It's the spirit behind Luke, I am your father. It is a benevolent psychopath. And when their true colors show, then both their eyes become psychopathic. They no longer have the benevolent one. They go full Antichrist. So I'll start from the last paragraph of the last sentence of page 126 going into page 127. He says, let us suppose that in 1904, German foreign policy was managed astutely enough to enable us to take the part which Japan played, kowtowing to the British crown, by the way. It is not easy to measure through steel, I think. I think they were doing steel imports or something like that. It is not easy, he says, to measure the greatness of the results that might have occurred to Germany from such a policy. There would have been no world war. Okay. The blood which would have been shed in 1904 would not have been a tenth of that shed from 1914 and 1918, and what a position Germany would hold in the world today. So he's merely telling him, because you didn't submit to the British masters, this is what happened to you. This is why a lot of Germans hated him. That's probably where that infamous picture comes from, where they're all saluting him, and there's that one German with his arms crossed, like, that's me. That's a maybe we're genetically related, because that guy is exactly who I would have been. I would have been like, this guy's serving the U.S. and Britain. Did you read his book? That's what actually happened in my journey to find the truth on this. People try to get me to think that Hitler was good or something, and I'm like, I have trouble swallowing that. And there are so many lies that I'm like, why don't I just read his own book? And then that's where I was like, yeah, this guy's making weird comments. And that's why I couldn't say he was good. I'm like, I can't say he was good. He said that Germany would have been at its height despite if it didn't have influence from Christianity. I'm like, this guy's totally wrong. So he continues. In any case, the alliance with Austria was then an absurdity. For this mummy of a state, interesting wording there. Where is it? For this mummy of a state did not attach itself to Germany for the purpose of carrying through a war, but rather to maintain a perpetual state of peace, which was meant to be exploited for the purpose of slowly but persistently exterminating the German element in the dual monarchy. Yeah, but they do that to all nations. It's not like special blood they do it to. You understand? They do it to any nation that has adopted Christianity or any kind of Semitic philosophy or language. Just look at history. Oh, I forgot about the chat here. Or the scroll, sorry. Remember, chat actually means sin. Isn't that something? Chat GPT? Chat Geppetto? It's literally Geppetto. Anyway. He continues, another reason for the impossible character of this alliance was that nobody could expect such a state to take an active part in defending German national interest, seeing that it did not have sufficient strength and determination to put an end to the policy of de-Germanization within its own frontiers. If Germany herself was not moved by a sufficiently powerful national sentiment and was not sufficiently ruthless to take away from that absurd Habsburg state the right to decide the destinies of 10 million inhabitants who were of the same nationality as the Germans themselves, surely it was out of the question to expect the Habsburg state to be a collaborating party in any great and courageous German undertaking. The attitude of the Old Reich towards the Austrian question might have been taken as a test of its stamina for the struggle where the destinies of the whole nation were at stake. In any case, the policy of oppression against the German population in Austria should not have been allowed to be carried on and to grow stronger from year to year. For the value of Austria as an ally could be assured only by upholding the German element there. But that course was not followed. See, he's just saying, like, if you just would have done what they want. It's literally 33D chess, like I make fun of. If we just held fast a Christian or Messianist identity, it wouldn't happen. Because our identity wouldn't be tied in like a million different things. It's polytheism. And this is what he's afraid of and what he's envious of. The unity of it. So he wants a unified physical body. It's like, okay. Based on physicality. Based on things that can change. Literally, your face changes can change multiple times. At least like every decade, your face can change. Anyway. had some trouble turning it back on right there. All right. Population. So he continues. Nothing was dreaded so much as the possibility of an armed conflict, but finally, and at a most unfavorable moment, the conflict had to be forced and accepted. They thought to cut loose from the cords of destiny, but destiny held him fast. As an Iron Maiden song says, us or them, a well-rehearsed lie. Cast of millions apart to play. Killer, victim, fool for a day. Minutemen order, men have to die. Us or them, a well-rehearsed lie. Running silent, running deep, we are your final prayer. Warriors in secret sleep, a merchantman's nightmare. A silent death lies waiting for all of you below. Running silent, running deep, sink into your final sleep. Go look it up. Running silent, running deep. They tell you. Lifeboat shattered, the hull is torn. Tar black smell of burning oil on the way down to Davy Jones. Every man for himself, you're on your own. The wolf eyes watch the crosswire. Stern troops ready, aim and fire. They can pin some metal on your chest. 2 more weeks, dead like the rest. He continues, they dreamt of maintaining a world peace and woke up to find themselves in a world war. And that dream of peace, I hope you can see the little lies here because I can't pick out every single one. It'd take forever. Let's see. He continues, and that dream of peace was a most significant reason why the above-mentioned third alternative for the future development of Germany was not even taken into consideration. The fact was recognized that new territory could be gained only in the east. Interesting, because I'm sure Russia can only expand to the west. Who's in the middle? Who's always in the middle? Clowns to the left of me, jokers in the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with Jews. I'm serious. The Semites are always in the middle. Where did they flee out of Egypt? Sinai Peninsula. Where did they flee out of Saudi Arabia or any of these places? Sinai Peninsula. They're always in the middle. So now you got Nazis to the left of me. Soviets to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with Slavs. You understand? You understand yet? You understand what skull they're after? Okay. So he says, territory can only be gained in the east, but this meant that there would be fighting ahead, whereas they wanted peace at any cost. The slogan of German foreign policy at one time used to be the use of all possible means for the maintenance of the German nation. Now it was changed to maintenance of world peace by all possible means. I mean, don't you? Anyway. We know what the result was. I shall resume the discussion of this point in detail later on. I just want to remind you of the part in Revelation where he sees all nations and ethnicities coming together and wanting peace, demanding peace worldwide. And that's when the main martyrdom starts. Is after all the nations are desiring it, and they're like, we don't want these psychopaths, these benevolent psychopaths ruling us anymore. We all just want to work together and grow our own food and do this and that. We're tired of war. Go read Revelation. So this is page 128 now. 15-minute mark. Fourth of the way there, and it's not that hot yet. There remains still another alternative, he says, which we may call the fourth. Oh, the fourth world wilderness. Go look up the fourth world wilderness on your Obama phone or whatever you have. A homeless person can do it. You have no excuse. Fourth world wilderness. This was industry and world trade, naval power, and colonies. He just described the wilderness beast. Industry and world trade, naval power, and colonies. The woman who's seated on many waters and languages. Drunk off the blood of martyrs. Gee, how did the Book of Revelation talk about adrenochrome 2,000 years before we're hearing about it now? Anyway, intoxicated off of blood? Is that what Revelation is saying? And Alex Jones is like, how did Stephen King write it and know all that stuff before it became public? It's in Revelation. It says a woman is getting intoxicated off of blood. Anyway. What am I saying here? So he just described the wilderness beast. It's the Fourth Reich, I guess, that they've been talking about. He continues, such a development might certainly have been attained more easily and more rapidly. To colonize a territory is a slow process, often extending over centuries. Yet this fact is the source of its inner strength, for it is not through a sudden burst of enthusiasm that it can be put into effect. Really? But rather through a gradual and enduring process of growth quite different from industrial progress, which can be urged on by advertisement within a few years. The result thus achieved, however, is not of lasting quality, but something frail, like a soap bubble. It is much easier to build quickly than to carry through the tough task of settling a territory with farmers and establishing farmsteads, but the former is more quickly destroyed than the latter. So how can anybody do anything of any importance anywhere in just 3.5 years? Or even 7 years? Americans somehow don't understand that their system is built to restrain and oppress them, yet they act like Washington and Franklin and all these people were these saviors that brought us a great country, when they're the ones who actually doppelganged and usurped. They're the Soviets. Jefferson claimed he was going to stop the big banks. He ended up establishing them, or Jackson. I think it was Jackson. But Jefferson's the one, he wrote his own Bible where he took out all the things he didn't like. And he also had a Quran next to it. How cute. These people. He continues, in adopting such a course, Germany must have known that to follow it out would necessarily mean war sooner or later. Only children can believe that sweet and unctuous expressions of goodness and persistent avowals of peaceful intentions could get them their bananas through the friendly competition between the nations, with the prospect of never having to fight for them. No, once we had taken this road, England was bound to be our enemy at some time or other to come. Of course, it fitted in nicely with our innocent assumptions, but still it was absurd to grow indignant at the fact that a day came when the English took the liberty of opposing our peaceful penetration with the brutality of violent egoists. Violent egoists. I wonder if that's going to age well for Mr. Hittite. He continues, naturally, we on our side would never have done such a thing. Sure. If a European territorial policy against Russia could have been put into practice only in case we had England as our ally, on the other hand, a colonial and world trade policy could have been carried into effect only against English interests and with the support of Russia. But then this policy should have been adopted in full consciousness of all the consequences it involved, and, above all things, Austria should have been discarded as quickly as possible. Must be something about Austria, because this guy really wants to get rid of it. Is there a lot of nobility, old nobility living in Austria? Maybe old nobility that didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and they're just trying to live their lives? I don't know. I just don't like how against Austria is and the Slavs. It's like, what'd they ever do to you? Just because they were used by another nation, that somehow makes them worthless to you? These people are so easily thrown down. That's why they even create the media and everything, to give themselves their own little echo chamber. Because of people like me, when there's a door open that no man will shut, and I can just hop on cameras and run into IDF soldiers, that's a door you will not shut. And I'll tell all those Semitic skulls exactly what I know, and it'll bother them. You know how their skulls work. These Soviets know how their skulls work. That's why they keep them in echo chambers of red versus blue, of communism versus capitalism. So, he continues, at the turn of the century, the alliance with Austria had become a veritable absurdity from all points of view. But nobody thought of forming an alliance with Russia against England. Oh, geez, that your Soviet Romanov side coming out? He says, just as nobody thought of making England an ally against Russia. They both. Does this man think we don't know that Kaiser Wilhelm and Tsar Nicholas both came from Victoria? The Romanovs and the British royalty are very, very similar. They're cousins, basically. Does this guy think he's fooling? And then he just gloats over like the masses saying that they're dumb. It's like, okay. I didn't go to Vienna, and I know more than this freaking patoot. So, he continues, for in either case, the final result would inevitably have meant war. And to avoid war was the very reason why a commercial and industrial policy was decided upon. It was believed that the perpetual conquest of the world by commercial means provided a method which would permanently supplant the policy of force. Occasionally, however, there were doubts about the efficiency of this principle, especially when some quite incomprehensible warnings came from England now and again. That was the reason why the fleet was built. It was not for the purpose of attacking or annihilating England, but merely to defend the concept of world peace. That's what they always say. The concept of world peace mentioned above, and also to protect the principle of conquering the world by peaceful means. This is now page 129. At the 24-minute mark. Therefore, this fleet was kept within modest limits, not only as regards the number and tonnage of the vessels, but also in regard to their armament, the idea being to furnish new proofs of peaceful intentions. The chatter about the peaceful conquests of the world by commercial means was probably the most completely nonsensical stuff ever raised to the dignity of a guiding principle in the policy of a state. This nonsense became even more foolish when England was pointed out as a typical example to prove how the thing could be put into practice. Our doctrinal way of regarding history and our professional ideas in that domain have done irreparable harm and offer a striking proof of how people learn history. These are his quotations. Without understanding anything of it. Seems like some people can bank on that, right? As a matter of fact, England ought to have been looked upon as a convincing argument against the theory of the pacific conquest of the world by commercial means. No nation prepared the way for its commercial conquest more brutally than England did by means of the sword, and no other nation has defended such conquest more ruthlessly. Yet you want pan-Germanism. You want to do the same thing England does, just with Germany at the top. Or at least that's what you're saying. But your American masters only have you go do that, just like with MAGA, just like with Trump, his Chinese masters have Magus. It's so ridiculous. These people know they're worshiping Satan, I swear. There is no excuse for them. He continues, it is not a characteristic quality of British statecraft that it knows how to use political power in order to gain economic advantages. What did he say? It is not a characteristic quality of British statecraft that it knows how to use political power in order to gain economic advantages, and inversely, to turn economic conquests into political power. Keep coughing. Okay. All right. So he continues, what an astounding error it was to believe that England would not have the courage to give its own blood for the purposes of its own economic expansion. See, that's the thing. It's not their blood. The leaders are not the same blood. They're British. They're not Angles. They're not Saxons. They're not even Normans. It's not their own blood, you liar. He continues, the fact that England did not possess a national army proved nothing. For it is not the actual military structure of the moment that matters, but rather the will and determination to use whatever military strength is available. England has always had the armament which she needed. She always fought with those weapons which were necessary for success. She sent mercenary troops to fight as long as mercenaries sufficed, but she never hesitated to draw heavily and deeply from the best blood of the whole nation when victory could be obtained only by such a sacrifice. Yeah, that's carried on by its daughter, America. And in every case, the fighting spirit, dogged determination, and use of brutal means in conducting military operations have always remained the same. Yeah, look what the troops did in Iraq and Afghanistan to prisoners and all kinds of people. It's just like Russia. It's just as brutal as Russia and Britain. Gee, I wonder why. What is the dual monarchy, huh? Because our presidents are made up of Romanovs and British royalty. That sounds like two horns, but anyway. And they always want peace, don't they? Little piece of Italy, little piece of France. So he continues, but in Germany, through the medium of the schools, the press, and the comic papers, an idea of the Englishman was gradually formed, which was bound eventually to lead to the worst kind of self-deprecation, or self-deception, sorry. This absurdity slowly but persistently spread into every quarter of German life. The result was an undervaluation for which we have had to pay a heavy penalty. They do the same thing with China. We're always going to beat China. Look how weak China is. China's going to lose. It's like, I mean, you got to be blind to not see what China's doing. I mean, look at all this stuff I always show with the Belt and Road Initiative. They're just letting China connect everything so that they can rule everything while acting like, oh, it'd be so easy for the U.S. to beat China. Oh, we can all just beat China. It's like, okay. He continues, the delusion was so profound that the Englishman was looked upon as a shrewd businessman, but personally a coward even to an incredible degree. Yes, how they do China. Unfortunately, our lofty teachers of professional history did not bring home to the minds of their pupils the truth that it is not possible to build up such a mighty organization as the British Empire by mere swindle and fraud. The few who called attention to that truth were either ignored or silenced. Yeah, that's true. Just like with China. Like, what are you talking about? China can't do anything. It's like, okay. You obviously don't read Chinese history. He continues, I can vividly recall to mind the astonished looks of my comrades when they found themselves personally face to face for the first time with the Tommies in Flanders. This is now page 130 at the 31-minute mark. After a few days of fighting, the consciousness slowly dawned on our soldiers that those Scotsmen were not like the ones we had seen described and caricatured in the comic papers and mentioned in the communiques. You see how he calls them Scotsmen? They only try to absorb qualities with their Soviet pattern. They're not Scotsmen. They try to claim Scottish blood all the time. Remember I already spoke about this? Now he's calling them Scotsmen. Oh, but it's called Scotland Yard. Read English and Scottish history. They didn't like each other. They slowly infected them. Their kilts can confuse AI. Hundreds of years before it existed. All right. They're very, 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 very protective. Oh, it's starting to rain. There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. All right. Where do you say Scotsman? Why can't I find where I was just at? Okay. I'll just start from this part because I can't see where... Right. Oh, here we go. After a few days of fighting, the consciousness slowly dawned on our soldiers that those Scotsmen were not like the ones we had seen described and caricatured in the comic papers and mentioned in the communiques. You gotta find that out about the Chinese pretty quick. It was then that I formed my first ideas of the efficiency of various forms of propaganda. Salts of falsification, however, served the purpose of those who had fabricated it. This caricature of the Englishman, though false, could be used to prove the possibility of conquering the world peaceably by commercial means. Where the Englishman succeeded, we should also succeed. So in Europe and stuff like that, this is how they view Americans. And possibly the Chinese. You understand? They want you to think that like America and China are just... that China's not as strong as it is, or that America's just a bunch of foolish drunks or something. And it's like, yeah, you're going to find out when they finally show themselves as joined forces. Yeah, my camera is doing weird color things, I feel. Anyway. All right. Our far greater honesty and our freedom from that specifically English perfidy would be assets on our side. Thereby, it was hoped that the symphony of the smaller nations and the confidence of the greater nations could be gained more easily. We did not realize that our honesty was an object of profound aversion for other people because we ourselves believed in it. The rest of the world looked on our behavior as the manifestation of a shrewd deceitfulness. But when the revolution came, then they were amazed at the deeper insight it gave them into our mentality. sincere even beyond the limits of stupidity. Once we understand the part played by that absurd notion of conquering the world by peaceful commercial means, we can clearly understand how that other absurdity, the Triple Alliance, came to exist. So, what he's trying to do, okay, this is what Satan likes to do. He likes to try to say he's bringing in the kingdom of God when he's lying. So he'll use concepts like you can have world peace by commercial means and education means if it's rooted in scripture. And but see how if it's in the hands of the British or the Chinese or Americans or whoever, you can easily demonize it just because it's like saying a sword is evil because Britain wields it, or Rome wields it, or America wields it. It's like, yeah, but if good people actually used it, it would work. This is a very deep psychology they use a lot in many countries. So he continues, with what state then could an alliance have been made? In alliance with Austria, we could not acquire new territory by military means, even in Europe. And this very fact was the real reason for the inner weakness of the Triple Alliance. If you want to know about this whole Austria, Balkans, all this stuff going on there, go look at that. Go look up the Europe to China, the Europe-Asian railway systems like I showed you. Look at the Belt on Road Initiative. Look at where it goes through. Look what cities it goes through. Look what countries it goes through. And you'll understand what these people were trying to pave a way for. That's why all their roads and railroads curve and twist and everything. They don't prepare a straight way for their Antichrist. They prepare curving, weird loop-de-loops and all kinds of stuff because they want you to spend money on gas. But it's a whole other thing. He continues, a Bismarck could permit himself such a makeshift for the necessities of the moment, but certainly not any of his bungling successors, and least of all when the foundations no longer existed on which Bismarck had formed the Triple Alliance. In Bismarck's time, Austria could still be looked upon as a German state, but the gradual introduction of universal suffrage turned the country into a preliminary Babel in which the German voice was scarcely audible. So, it seems that like Bismarck is some kind of Reagan. Oh no, maybe Kaiser's. Bismarck sounds like a Bush. The Bushes were very warlike, and now it's just accumulated into a great white cock, literally Sheshak. Trump is literally Sheshak. That's why he's gonna become president. That's why Joe Biden was president, because he's a Sheshak. Hope you understand. Bet you Obama wears contacts. But anyway, it doesn't matter anyway because Hillary was running the show when he was president, so it doesn't really matter. From the viewpoint of racial policy, according to Hitler, remember, this alliance with Austria was simply disastrous. A new Slavic great power was allowed to grow up close to the front lines of the German Empire. I mean, everybody has borders. Anyway, later on, this power was bound to adopt towards Germany an attitude different from that of Russia, for example. Oh, look, they play him against their own nation in Russia. The alliance was thus bound to become more empty and more feeble because the only supporters of it were losing their influence and were being systematically pushed out of the more important public offices. About the year 1900, the alliance with Austria had already entered the same phase as the alliance between Austria and Italy. Here also, only one alternative was possible, either to take the side of the Habsburg monarchy or to raise a protest against the oppression of the German element in Austria. It's now page 131 at the 40-minute mark. Hallelujah, there's 20 minutes left and it's getting hot in here. He continues, but generally speaking, when one takes such a course, it is bound eventually to lead to open conflict. From the psychological point of view, also, the triple decreases according as such an alliance limits. What? From the psychological point of view, also, the triple decreases according as such an alliance limits its object to the defense of the status quo. I read that word for word. Did that sound confusing to everybody else? Murphy didn't do a good job editing right here. Sometimes there's like periods at random spots, and then like the next word isn't capitalized and stuff like that. Thought these were the master race, and you can't even translate correctly into English and do correct pronunciation or punctuation. Is he supposed to be the master race, and you can't even understand English punctuation? Anyway, he continues, but on the other hand, an alliance will increase its cohesive strength the more the parties concerned in it may hope to use it as a means of reaching some practical goal of expansion. Here, as everywhere else, strength does not lie in defense, but in attack. This truth was recognized in various quarters, but unfortunately, not by the so-called elected representatives of the people. As early as 1912, Ludendorff, who was then colonel and an officer of the general staff, pointed out these weak features of the alliance in a memorandum which he then drew up. But of course, the statesman did not attach any importance or value to that document. In general, it would seem as if reason were a faculty that is active only in the case of ordinary mortals, but that is entirely absent when he come to deal with that branch of the species known as diplomats. So remember really quick, it was a Soviet Russian that called himself a JEW. He wasn't. He was a Soviet. He actually invented the mobile gas chambers. I have a picture of that somewhere. You know what? I'll pull that up. I'll finish this page and pull that up. It was lucky for Germany that the War of 1914 broke out with Austria as its direct cause, for thus the Habsburgs were compelled to participate. Had the origin of the war been otherwise, Germany would have been left to her own resources. The Habsburg state would never have been ready or willing to take part in a war for the origin of which Germany was responsible. What was the object of so much this guy is so freaking annoying. He thinks he's so smart. Obloquy, more Babylonian nonsense. Just say a normal word that a farmer can understand. Later in the case of Italy's decision would have taken place only earlier in the case of Austria. In other words, if Germany had been forced to go to war for some reason of its own, Austria would have remained neutral in order to safeguard the state against a revolution which might begin immediately after the war had started. The Slav element would have preferred to smash up the dual monarchy in 1914 rather than permit it to come to the assistance of Germany. It's interesting. But at the same time, there were only a few who understood all the dangers and aggravations which resulted from the alliance with the Danubian monarchy. If anybody's ever spoken with a college-educated person who does that same thing, they use words not to help describe what they want to describe. They use them because they think they're better than you. When you're like, "What did you just say?" You know what I mean? They're so annoying. They speak like they have this pompous way of speaking. In the first place, Austria had too many enemies who were eagerly looking forward to obtain the heritage of that decrepit state, so that these people gradually developed a certain animosity against Germany, because Germany was an obstacle to their desires, inasmuch as it kept the dual monarchy from falling to pieces. Consummation that was hoped for and yearned for on all sides. The conviction developed that Vienna could be reached only by passing through Berlin. In the second place, by adopting this policy, Germany lost its best and most promising chances of other alliances. In place of these possibilities, one now observed a growing tension in the relations with Russia and even with Italy, and this in spite of the fact that the general attitude in Rome was just as favorable to Germany as it was hostile to Austria, a hostility which lay dormant in the individual Italian and broke out violently on occasion. So I'm going to stop the reading there so I can pull up this picture that I know is somewhere in the computer. Aren't you tired of these people just praising Britain and the US? And they're like, make Germany great again. Make America great again while I'm going to prop up China while acting like I'm fighting against them. So sad. I think it's in... Probably find it in here. It should be in here unless I put it specifically with... well, I would have copied and pasted. I wouldn't. All right, let me see here. I think I have it. Come on. I didn't put it in here either? I thought I did. All roads lead to Rome. Come on. Give me a break here. That's weird. I wonder where I would have it then. Pictures. Let's see. Download. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I think I might know where it is. Maybe the YouTube vault. Here is this one. I'm gonna find it. I know it's in here somewhere. Lots of funny pictures in here. Elon Musk. Some old stuff in here. All right. It's... I'll bring it up another time. I brought it up before. But yeah, it was a Russian Soviet right, wasn't it Soviet? It was like between World War I and II. These guys invented the mobile gas chamber, where it was a car where the exhaust was funneled back into the compartment in the back. It might be here actually, because I remember posting it on Telegram a long time ago. Oh, I think I'm about to find it. I know it's in here. I can feel it. Oh, there's a bunch of funny stuff in here. Oh, a crypto thing. I'll show the crypto thing if I can't find it. Cryptocurrency. Because Trump says he signed something to start it, but he says he wants to make America the crypto capital of the planet. Now remember, crypto means death, like crypt. So why is he wanting to make it the capital of death? Oh, because his religion is Egyptian, like the pharaohs, and he worships death. Well, for some reason I can't find this picture, so I'll pull it up another time. Let me read this, because I remember this being good. NFT. You are what they refer to as useful idiots, he says. Cryptocurrency is the biggest psyop in human history. They knew that people would eventually fear inflation and abandon fiat money, so they created an alternative that would help absorb the capital flight but do nothing to harm the system. They made similar things about gold to get us to paper. That something is crypto. Remember their motto, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Yes. Every immaterial fiat dollar you exchange for immaterial crypto is wasted ammunition you could have used to fight the banking cartel. They don't want you to own gold, silver, oil, farmland, etc. They want you to own nothing, crypto and NFTs, and live in the metaverse. You are literally further engulfing yourself in their matrix. I'd agree with that. Well, I could have swore I had that picture somewhere on here too. Let me see if it's over here. Because I might have it over here. Oh, here's the... It's not APAC. What the hell just happened? Whatever, that's APAC. The Soviet Israel. It's a Star of Remphan hooked to the pentagram saying connected for good. Anyway, warp speed logo. It's literally a Kabbalistic cube going towards the infinite with 4 stars on one side, 4 stars on the other. It's 44 Death's Door. Umbrella Corporation. Come on, where's it at? I know it might be here. Nope. Man. Whatever. I'm just going to have to play the whole video like I usually do at the end to the song that you should know which song I'm going to play. And then we'll do the other 3 parts in the next few days, the next few days. It was an interesting time, though. We got some good information out. Exposing Hitler as a mindless British secret agent, apparently. I'm electric spy. I'm protecting electric eye. Go listen to the Jewish priest songs talking about all these Soviets. They're protecting the British Empire. They're protecting U.S. assets, which all protect China. But, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about.
It has begun.
Yo, I'm a businessman. Straight to the business. Nah, I ain't gonna miss this. Cause you lot taking the biscuit. So stay on the fringes, pray for the win. You fakers are making me cringe. I should've stayed in the basement. You got no place to skate on the pavement. Your head's vacant, complacent. Too green, no beef, no bacon. Complaining, we're all savages. No shit, Sherlock, can't handle this. Can't prepared, I don't mean sandwiches. Sack of shit, come with a bag of bandages. I'm unstable, bring reinforcements. Cut the cake, give me the big portion. Of course it's just rawness, grassroots, no big endorsements. So I'm chalking, one up to Ollie, tits in a trolley, balls in a biscuit tin. Ain't no fool with a bling, I'm cool with a ting. Who's that? I'm a roof rag. Should I shoot back or blast and boom back? Cute rappers, you're better off to move back. True that, mate, don't do that. And I'm getting too fat, but you'll wear the food out. Brat, gunshot in the air like you don't care about wasting rounds. Why's your facing a frown? I ain't targeting no one, I'm just making the rounds. Making the most of it while you're posting links to bogus shit. My frozen fingertips are still picking bricks up and laying them in those conditions.